So, in a very, very important day for CBA negotiations, it does seem like Nakamumake and the WNBPA staff went to Nashville to check in on the AU players alongside fellow committee members Alicia Clark and Bree Turner, discussing ongoing CBA negotiations. We'll be interested to see what comes out of what a source describes an important post-point meeting with a large contingent of WNBA players. This is where we will see. I fully believe we'll either have if there's no strike by today's Friday, give it to Valentine's Day. If there's no strike till Valentine's Day, there's going to be a league. There's going to be a season. If there is a strike before Valentine's Day, obviously, you might as well just cancel the league. There's no point talking about it. Because let's be real, there's not going to be any sort of a league. However, if you guys don't know, obviously Nakamumake is meeting with the AU players, and this is a group of players that I do think is going to have a huge, huge say, because if you guys don't know the Athletes Unlimited roster, the AU roster right now is like, you've got a lot of these players where, if you're looking at them, these are players that are not going to be making the big bucks. Some of them are making good money, don't get it twisted. But a lot of them aren't going to be making the big bucks. Like if you look here, Rebecca Gardner, Anissa Morrow, I'll just scroll over here so you guys see the full names. I thought that was Kayla Charles second. I was like, Kayla Charles is in Europe. Caitlin Chen, Tina Charles, Nelissa Smith, Kirsten Bell, Mackenzie Forbes, Mercedes Russell, Zaya Cook. These are a lot of players outside of Ariel Atkins. These are players on rookie deals or that will be playing for not that far off the minimum. Like, I'm looking through this right here. I think just because of her defense, Kia Stokes will command some money in a bit like a Breanna Turner way. I think Izzy Harrison will command some money because I thought she was really good for New York last year. Odyssey Sims is definitely going to command some money after what she did with the Fever. But a lot of these players, though, playing in... This is a big thing because a lot of these players... We all want to say, what about the players that aren't making that much money in the offseason? And just letting you guys know, it is pretty much impossible to survive from just Athletes Unlimited. If this is the only basketball you are playing, you're not going to survive. You're not going to survive. Like, it is literally between 20 and 40k per player. It's not that long, but players make between 20 and 40k. Like, that is not ideal. That is not ideal at all when it comes down to it. Because between 20 and 40k is not going to be... Maybe you could survive, but you're not going to survive well. So if you're looking here as well at the players, these are players that are going... You're basically, instead of being unrivaled, where they're still making more money than they previously would, you're basically asking these players here to turn down... Are they going to turn down a minimum of $250,000 when it's the difference between them making more money than they ever have before playing or struggling to put food on the table or having to work a summer job, having to find somewhere to work, coaching an AAU team for nearly $0. Like, it is one of those things where what these players say is big, because if these players are all for the strike, which I don't know why they would be, because again, for example, Ariel Atkins is probably the only player that, based on her salaries, is like good money wise, and Tina Charles, but like Tina Charles is probably going to walk into $750,000 contract next year. Ariel Atkins. The Sky are going to pay Ariel Atkins the max, by the way. Like, they will pay Ariel Atkins $1 million. So, if you're Ariel Atkins, you're like, duh, I want a season. And I'm just guessing again. It's the difference between all the rookie scale deals being brought up. So, for your Tina Pau, it's the difference between her making $250,000 and nothing. Natasha Mack is probably going to be on 400k, or 40K. Rookie deal, Kia Nurse. Kia Nurse is probably hanging on to her spot in the WNBA right now. She probably has 2 to 3 more years left. And if that's all gone, like, let's be real, like, that's all gone. So the likelihood of this scenario, again, someone who's no guarantee of a spot in the league in Grace Berger, I think the odds of her having a spot in the league are, I would say, if you're asking me in general, I would say based on how she played in Dallas, there's a 75% chance Dallas keep her on a small contract. But still, it's the difference between last season making a barely getting by, making, like, she was playing in we can't forget, she was playing in 3v3 competitions, outdoor competitions, to try and make ends meet after she got cut from the Minnesota Lynx. And that's the thing with these players, is like, it's the difference between these players. I'm not going to say getting generational wealth, but no matter where you are, $250,000 a year is good money. $250,000 a year is really, really good money. So it's the difference between all of these players, all these players making real good money or having to work a summer job. And I can't see them saying to strike. I can see them saying hold out a bit longer, but I can't see them saying to strike. But at the end of the day, if they do want to strike, there's going to be a strike. Because I can guarantee you that the unrivaled players are majority pro-strike. Because we've heard it in the way they're communicating. I think they're absolutely pro-strike. That being said, I think everybody else, my assumption is that everyone else is anti-strike. However, if it turns out that the AU players are pro-strike as well, there's going to be a strike. Not only is there going to be a strike, we all, like, if we have to be real here, if there's a strike, there's no WNBA. There's no WNBA. Like, Unrivaled is going to fail miserably soon, but Unrivaled will exist. If it's the only league, it will continue to exist, and barely exist, but it will continue to exist just about. So yeah, that is pretty much it. That is one of the big things here, is that a lot of people are talking about it, and they're talking about this specifically, and they're like, okay, yeah, is there what is happening? I think this one's really important. I think it is really, really important, that, because everyone is always questioned, because we've heard from the unrivaled players what they want, but we're like, they're probably the ones that can survive. For me, it doesn't necessarily just come down to the AU players, but if it turns out that, like, look, when it comes to between unrivaled and AU, you have more than 50% of WNBA. You have a decent chunk more than 50%. If unrivaled players and AU players are both pro-strike and hold it out, there is not going to be a WNBA. Because people need to stop saying there's not going to be a season, because it's as simple as, it's not a case of there being money. Like, the owners who are burning $100 million for a season that doesn't happen are not randomly, and the investors are not randomly going to say, okay, yeah, we'll commit to putting in more money because we've burned all this money already. It's not going to work like that. The players are either going to if the players want there to be a season, 2027 season, if there's no 2026 season, they're going to either have to accept a much worse CBA than they're being offered currently, or there's not going to be a league. And I think they're prepared for the latter. And I think they have to realize that there's not going to be a league. Like, if it does stop, there's not going to be a league to come back to. And you know what? If the players, like, from our perspective, they're shooting themselves in the foot. But at the end of the day, like, they could be onto something. They could be right. And even if they are walking towards a big cliff, you can't stop someone from walking off that cliff if they're adamant on jumping, unfortunately. But at the same time, like, I hope public sentiment either way isn't swaying anything. And I just hope in general that the players get the best deal for them, which hopefully is to play. But if it's not, F's in chat for all of these. F's in chat for Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionescu, AJ Wilson, because I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell Nike are going to do. Because Nike will have to pull, like, Caitlin will have her Caitlin Clark 1 shoe. I don't know what Nike will do. I really don't know what Nike will do. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. See you guys.